I've been sitting around in quarantine for a while now. As I sit around and wait and play Animal Crossing, I can't help but think about the times in the past where I was not essentially forced to be bored and play games. While I do that, I remember all the games that I played but never ended up finishing. I can't help but wonder why I never finished said games. And as I sit around, bored, tired, and depressed, I feel the crave to make these YouTube videos again. So guess what, fuckos? I'm making videos of me criticizing games that I couldn't finish because I didn't like them enough. And this script sucks. But guess what? Fuck you. First up on our chopping block is Borderlands 2. I should say that all the footage of Borderlands 2 in this video was recorded around the time of me writing the script, as a part of my revisitation of Borderlands 2. I got Borderlands 2 on a whim during the Steam Summer Sale 2019, or 2018, I don't remember. During said sale, I got a variety of games because I'm a corporate shill, and the Borderlands collection was among that. Once I got it initially, I played some multiplayer of it with one of my other corporate shill friends. As we played, we got increasingly frustrated with the game and instructions, as we were not paying the closest attention to every minute detail in the plot and what our quests were, as we were talking in between ourselves and messing around.
I love this game.
It's so much fun! It's so much fun! Take off your white strips! This is the correct way to play a game. What the fuck just happened?
I quit.
So that did not work out very well, to say the least. After that, I started playing the game in single player, fully listening to the plot and paying attention to every statistic of my guns and my levels and my abilities. I did all of that and got maybe a third through the game. Then, Borderlands 2 sat in my Steam library, unplayed for maybe 6 or 7 months. Truth be told, I didn't give a damn about the game anymore. Then, as I sat around today, listening to a podcast with good old Captain Sparkles, the thought came into my mind to try and revisit my old lover that was Borderlands 2. So I did. And here's where the direct criticism comes in. Keep in mind that sure, I am criticizing a game from 2012 to 2020 standards. But Borderlands 2 kinda sucks in my opinion. Let's start off with the story. Borderlands 2 is mainly a story-based game. Sure, there is a tiny bit of open world, but it's not much compared to other stuff. There are a couple side quests, but from what I saw, it was mostly just some small, menial stuff for a small reward. However, most of the game follows around the central story. If I'm being honest, I can't remember the story at all now. I remember that you wake up in the snow because you are a vault hunter. An obnoxious robot boy leads you around for a while. Then you go to an ice town with some giants or something and help a man with a prosthetic arm. You also have a Cortana ripoff talking to you the whole time, but she is a lackluster character that is both underdeveloped and intrusive to the gameplay experience. From there, you start fighting Hyperion for some reason, and Handsome Jack makes unnecessary quips to you the whole time. You are kinda inherited into this not-so-underground revolution, and that's about all I got. At some point, I think you unsuccessfully save a guy from nomads or something, but I may be remembering wrong. The story itself was very underdeveloped. Sure, there are some small things that are amusing or entertaining, but not enough to make the story satisfying as a whole. It is just a constant feel that you have to massacre groups of people for some reason, and as soon as you do that, guess what? Time to rinse and repeat that process as we get closer to Hyperion, or whatever the end goal is. It is just so lackluster. I know that there is some overarching plot, but Borderlands did not make it interesting enough to actually sink in. Something related to this is the comedy used throughout. The comedy is made intentionally to be goofy, sure. However, sometimes it just feels like the same overused crap that you hear. Jokes that don't quite hit a punchline, or jokes that are just a bit too goofy. Again, just like the plot, there are the times where they get it right, like Handsome Jack's butt stallion stuff. But most of the time it's just lame attempts at this kind of comedy. In my mind, Borderlands' comedy is set up so cockily that the writers are fully believing in these jokes and quips and totally committing to it. While this can be good in some cases, due to the inherently strange and subjective comedy style that they're targeting, it just doesn't work. If they did not treat their comedy as seriously and instead were more laid back about it, it could be greatly improved. Instead, it just feels like this stretched out, overused jokes and comedy that is so cockily hoisted up that it just isn't funny. I think the most it's gotten from me is a smirk, and I'm pretty sure I am the intended audience for the humor. I'm 15. Next to criticize is our favorite, the gameplay. The gameplay is just a sluggish continuation of the same shit over and over again. This goes hand in hand with what I was saying about how the plot is just a constant repeat of following something or doing something and trudging through baddies. You are just constantly fighting baddies. Different kind of baddies. Some baddies have more health. Some baddies have different guns. Some baddies blow up. Some baddies look different. It is just so boring. The same shit over and over again. The style they're going for can be done. Just look at Destiny 2. Destiny 2 has essentially the same intended style as Borderlands 2. Differing guns, differing enemies, differing classes, differing stats. And that game works. The combat is great and satisfying, and it's great to chill back to. But Borderlands' attempt isn't. It's a long, menial, constant battle. It's not satisfying or entertaining at all. It sucks. I know I'm rambling a lot of the same shit over and over again, but the gameplay just sucks. And the stats are too much for my small little pea brain to handle. I don't really have a lesson to preach here. Just to me, Borderlands 2 kinda sucks dookie ass. It doesn't have a good story. It doesn't have good gameplay. The main fault I see in it is that it is trying way too hard in some departments and barely trying in others. Borderlands 2 is either hardly working or working hard, depending on what it is actually doing. It just doesn't amass into a good game. And if it were to settle on something to actually make good, then I would be able to at least somewhat praise the game. But it doesn't. And instead, all of the elements of the game feel too half-assed. It's just not good. Just something funny I found while doing a tiny bit of research. Apparently, during the initial release of the game, the developers teased the release of a DLC character called the Mechromancer. The character was meant to please players who were bad at first-person shooters, or as the lead designer describes, it's the girlfriend's skill tree. Haha, funny. Oh, Borderlands, what the jokesters.